Hello and welcome to Organic Price Books. This is Taylor from Taylor Talks Comics doing a guest review over COPRA, the Master Collection from Michel Fiffe. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of Michel Fiffe and COPRA. I was so excited that this was getting a deluxe hardcover Master Collection, if you will, from Image. And because previously this had only been released from being self-published in single issues, as well as I believe 6 trade paperbacks from Image and a previous publisher prior to Image. So now we're getting hardcovers, and this is a really beautifully put together book. This is the cover. Here's the spine, and it says Image COPRA Master Collection Michel Fiffe, Book 1, with the little logo there. I don't know if you can notice in the camera, but the lettering there has like a sketching quality to it, like was handwritten. If you can see it, I think it just looks probably solid font there from a distance. And then here's the back with just a plethora of blurbs from a who's who of comics. You have Bendis, you have Klaus Janson, you got Joe Casey, Chris Roberson, and then the description down here, as well as what it collects. And it collects issues number 1 through 12, and it carries a cover price of $39.99. But you can get this from Organic Price Books for $35. And if you use the code Taylor Talks Comics, you save $2 more, and it helps support me and my YouTube channel, Taylor Talks Comics. So you get it for $33 that way. But like I said, this is a really beautifully put together collection. Let me show the dimensions off first. So it is oversized for sure. Here's a single issue comic book to show you that it's much taller and wider than that. Here's a Marvel Omnibus, which carries the same dimensions as a DC Omnibus. You can still see it's wider and taller than that. This is a book I'll have a guest review on as well for Organic Price Books. And then a familiar size for Image fans is the Remender Deluxe size. And it's actually slightly taller than a Remender Deluxe, which is kind of surprising. But don't worry, if you have a K-Lax shelf, it does fit nicely in the K-Lax shelf. So I know that's a big deal for some collectors. So even though it's taller than the Remender Deluxe by just a hair, it does fit on those shelves just fine. So let's open this thing up. So we have the Endpapers here. Really cool drawing from Michel Fiffe. And the back end papers are the same. So the cool thing about this book is that Michel Fiffe does all the work. The penciling, the inking, the coloring, the lettering, it's all done by one hand. Here's the next page. And then the opening title page. Created and produced by Michel Fiffe. The book itself was designed with help by Michel Fiffe, but with help from Adam Pruitt and Erica Schnatz. So we have a group shot here of all the characters you can find in this wonderful series, and then a table of contents with the different stories. And a special thank you, and then with acknowledgments to the works of. So really, this right here is where Michel Fiffe, this work you find in here is a love letter to all of these different artists' work. You've got John Ostrander, Kim Yale, Luke McDonnell, Anna Cinti, John Romita Jr., and Steve Ditko, Steve Ditko was someone that in the later years of Ditko's life, Michel Fiffe actually had some interactions with, some correspondence with back and forth. And there's really cool stories about that, that Michel Fiffe has shared on his social media before. So this is the title page. This is how each issue is broken up. It's the title page without the trade dress on it, which is nice. At least you have the cover. This was also the cover of each issue, as well as what's breaking that up. And then this is the first issue. So this is on a glossy paper, and that had me concerned at first because the way this is drawn, you can see that the coloring technique on it has almost like I don't know what his process is, Michel Fiffe's, but it almost looks like colored pencils, the way it's colored and stuff. And I always felt that laid better on matte paper, even like maybe a yellowed newsprint paper. which I think this has been collected. Yes, this has been collected on both matte and glossy paper. I think the old publisher, which the name is escaping me, did it on matte paper, but then Image, since they've been reprinting the trade paperbacks, has been doing it on glossy paper. I know the volume 6 that just came out was that way. But I have to say, pleasantly surprised that the artwork really pops off this glossy paper. I'm always kind of a paper snob, and I always prefer matte paper because I feel like that's the kind of paper that the artwork was drawn on, so it's going to look the most natural, so to speak. But this looks great. Like, I have no complaints over the glossy paper here. And this is the first issue, and the way the story goes as far as like the behind the scenes, Michel Fiffe really wanted to break into the comic business, but you can see how his art style is not your average artist style, if you will. I think if he were to do the pencils for like a big 2 Marvel DC superhero book and had someone else inking and coloring it, it would probably look a lot more like your average Marvel or DC superhero comic book, which is what I don't want. I love that this is 100%, unequivocally, unabashedly Michel Fiffe's, from his mind, from every point, from the story to the artwork. But you can see how it's like an unconventional style. It's his signature style. It's stylized. It's 100% Michel Fiffe. If I see Michel Fiffe's art, I can pick it out of a lineup for sure. So here's another cover break coming soon. But there even keeps some of the editorial aspects. So this is issue 2, and it has like the intro where he's talking about kind of the process, and talking like I first heard about breaking the Kirby barrier and from Walt Simonson, those kinds of things, which is great. And so, and you really see a growth of an artist as well, because this was just a self-published project. He, like I said, the behind the scenes, Fiffe just wanted to do a superhero book and started doing it and self-publishing it, selling on the internet. And that's kind of been his business model ever since. He just kind of hooked up with Image eventually, when Image realized how popular the series was, and went forth. So what the story of COPRA is, as you can see, you have like a Frank Castle looking character here. This is, I mean, the way that he draws this character is so obvious that that's where his name is Castillo too, so it's even pretty close to the name. You can see it's very much JR, like John Romita Jr., and it reminds me a lot of like the Anna City JR Daredevil Punisher comic, or issues or whatever. So, and I know Fiffe is a big fan of those. So any of this trippy character, it's like really bleeds into like the Ditko Doctor Strange kind of character roles. But COPRA in a whole, as a whole product, is a love letter, an ultimate love letter to John Ostrander's Suicide Squad. And it's kind of what these characters are. They're kind of operating in a Suicide Squad type deal, going on missions that are off the books, and even have the leader of them, if I can find her. Oh, right here. Even Mears, like the leader of the Suicide Squad from Ostrander's run. So Fiffe was a big fan of the Ostrander run. And then he basically just made his own characters with things that he loved that were not a part of that. Like I said, the JR Frank Castle, like the Steve Ditko Doctor Strange, and kind of melded them in there. And you'll see great things. So this art style, like I said, is unconventional. If you're coming to this video from being a fan of like the Big Two, give this book a shot, because everything you love about the Big Two is in here, but there's so much more in the fact that it's truly from one person's hand, and there's stakes involved. And it's one of the great things about a creator-owned comic book is you can have the highest of high stakes. Anything can happen, because these are just one person's IP. Even with John Ostrander's Suicide Squad, you couldn't kill off everybody. I think, yeah, so characters like did die in that run, but you couldn't permanently alter or kill off characters that DC didn't want Ostrander to touch in that way. So the stakes could only be so high. It was very limiting. This is all Fiffe. This is all his creator-owned style stuff. He can do whatever he wants with these characters. And it makes the journey of reading it that much better, just knowing that anything can happen. And these characters develop so well throughout the series. Yes, there are characters that, you know, die and whatnot, but there are characters that carry through and make it. And you really get a feeling for who those characters are. And you also just see Fifey just experimenting with different ways of storytelling. It's like this issue right here. It's called Personal Files. And you can see even like the artwork does a full bleed on the black around the border there. And it's kind of like a personal file of personal accounts of each character, like a personal character study. And it's done in this different style. Then you see like, again, like these Ditko-esque Doctor Strange homages or tributes, if you will. So there's like everything here. You get the down, dark and gritty superheroes on these violent missions. This is rated mature, and it's for violence. But then you get like the trippy Ditko, Doctor Strange montages. And you get these really great character studies. There's a total love letter to everything that Michel Fifey loved in comics, and that it's inspiring, really. But it's such a fun ride. So this collects, like I said, issues 1 through 12. I do believe Fifey is rounding the corner to issue number 50 in the series, and I believe he said that is where he'll stop. I don't know if he'll go on beyond that or if that's true or whatnot. But if that's the case, then if each of these master collections is collecting 12 issues, I'd imagine, you know, doing the math there, it's 48 issues in 4 volumes. Probably squeeze in a couple issues in there. I think this would be a 4-volume set. And I do hope that they do at least one a year to keep on pace, a good pace of releasing these, because this is really a great comic book that everyone should try. There are no extras in the back. Like, that's the last page, and then you get the Endpapers. So I am kind of surprised by that, considering this is called a master collection. I was hoping for some sketchbooks and process work from Fifey. Maybe some how-to, maybe the coloring process. I really wanted to learn about that, and maybe some sketches of how these characters came about from his mind. Maybe that stuff will be included in a later volume, but I was surprised by that. It's kind of disappointing, but otherwise, this book is great. It lays completely flat. Like, you have a great eye on the book. It's really, really well built. I don't know if I can find a splash page. Oh, here's a great one. So here's the middle of the book. Lays over completely flat. You have no gutter loss whatsoever. Just a really well put together book with some thick glossy paper. But yeah, this is COPRA. I highly encourage anybody that's a fan of superhero comic books. Definitely if you're a fan of Suicide Squad or any sort of, even like the Suicide Squad movie, even like just the concept of the Suicide Squad, check this out. If you're a fan of Ditko's Doctor Strange, you know, JR's work on Punisher, any of those things that were obvious influences for Fifey, try it out. Again, this was Taylor from Taylor Talks Comics. You can buy this book on organicpricedbooks.com for $35, and use the code Taylor Talks Comics for an extra $2 off that order. I greatly appreciate that. So thank you. And then be sure to, on the way out, like this video, subscribe, and comment below. All the videos I do for Organic Price Books, I'm always in the comments trying to talk to people because I love talking comics with people. So thank you.